Hey everybody. Today we're going to do a little bit of work on our sewing project note page or our project planning page. And so we're going to look specifically into this first square, the supplies needed. There will be other things that we're going to add, and we will be talking about them, like for instance the sketch and some other details about planning and working notes. But today I just want to focus on part one, which is how you're going to start to look for supplies off of your pattern and reading your pattern envelope. Because we do need to have your fabrics in your hand by the 30th of September. So that's just a couple of weeks away. So we can start to work on our pant. So the first thing we're going to do is I have my pant pattern here, and I'm going to fill out the project, that what it is. So just filling in that it is the drawstring pant. The start date, whatever today happens to be. I guess today is the 15th. The sewing pattern, Butterick B5572. And then there's a completion date over there, but we're going to start without putting a completion date goal yet. There is one on our page, our syllabus and our work schedule when it is due, but we don't need to worry about putting that there right now. Okay, so what are we going to need? Our supplies that we need. First, let's look at the back of the envelope, and I think I'm going to zoom in even just a little bit more so you can see things here. All right. So up in the top, usually, sometimes it's on the side, but you're going to find a description about the garment, and you kind of want to read that so you have an idea of what you're getting into and understanding that. I have some writing on here. I am going to erase some of this so that we can look at that together and it's not in the way. But you're going to start by choosing what view it is that you're using. Now you can do the short, you can do the regular length pant, you can do the elastic bottom pant, whichever you want to do. I think Princess Leia, that's whose measurements I used for this, is going to do a C, the regular straight leg, longer length pant. So now we know that we're going to be working with C, so I'm going to bring it back up here. And it says pant B, C, or D have elastic waist casing. We know that. It has side seam pockets. We know that. It says it's a stitched hem, and that if you were going to do the D, that was an elastic casing at the lower edge. So it did say that it's a very loose fitting garment. So we have an indication that we know we don't want anything bulky, because if it's loose and it's just going to become even bulkier if you choose a bulky fabric. So then we're going to start with the notions, what you need. And right off the top, it's for shorts B or pants C. You need 1 inch elastic, 7/8 of a yard for kids if you were doing a kids one. And for adults, you need 1.5 yards of 1 inch wide elastic. So we're going to go over here and we're going to put that down, that I need 1.5 yards of 1 inch elastic. And I'm also going to add to this that you need to get non-roll elastic. So the non-roll elastic is going to prevent it from collapsing on itself. And we will have an elastic lesson when we get time to it in your portfolio. But so that you could shop for everything now and not have to make multiple purchases, I have a sample of non-roll here just so you can identify it. It will probably say it on the package, but if you're at the swap meet, no, it won't. Excuse me. But the non-roll elastic will have some kind of a pattern going across it, not just in the horizontal, but it's going to have a vertical. And what that does is, yes, it still stretches this way, but it stabilizes it this way so that it's really hard to bend that over. It's not going to roll on itself when you're wearing it. There are elastics that look that they're very comfortable, and yes, they are, but they just roll when you use them for a defined casing purpose. So you want to get non-roll elastic, 1 inch wide. If you're going to do D and you're going to get more elastic because of the bottom needing the 1 inch elastic too. So there it said for kids, you now need 1 3/4 yards, and for adults, you'd need 2.5 yards. So under the notions, there's nothing else that is listed here that you need a notion for, but thread is a notion. It's just that they assume you as a sewist know that you need to buy thread. So we're going to put it down here, just so I don't forget when I'm on my shopping expedition, that we ask for matching thread. Unless there's some particular instance where you're going to be doing a lot of top stitching. For instance, the hoodie has a lot of top stitching, and maybe you'll want some contrast as a decorative purpose. Then there is no drawstring listed on this. We're going to add that to your pattern. So we're going to learn buttonholes and make the little buttonhole in the casing and learn how to add the drawstring. So you could use twill tape, which that looks like this. I have a pair of our pants here already completed from some other semester. And this is twill tape. It's nice cotton twill tape. You usually have to purchase that where they have for home goods, like yardage, because you'll find it there, that heavier duty. It's usually not in the roll of where the ribbons and other things are. You could use a ribbon, but you'd want it to be a stable ribbon that can be washed. And so then it really should probably be a grosgrain ribbon. And you can also make it out of the fabric itself. And so we will learn how that's called a self drawstring, meaning that it's made out of the main fashion fabric that you have. Or maybe you have some scraps of fabric, some yardage that you could probably piece together and actually have a cool drawstring as well. And yes, we are going to put a drawstring with the elastic, and we will learn how to do that as well too. Okay, now it's time for the fabrics itself. And we're going to go right straight to our pants. So for B, C, and D, it lists the same things. And it says lightweight flannel, lightweight broadcloth, and stable knits. Then it says unsuitable for obvious diagonals. So anything that has a diagonal, really distinct pattern in it, you shouldn't use it on this. It's not going to look appealing when you get the layout. And as you're wearing it, it will look disjointed. So they're telling you that. Don't get an obvious diagonal. It says also allow extra yardage or fabric to match plaids or stripes. Well, I'm just going to go right here to the front, and they're all in plaid, aren't they? And they probably are all in flannel too. That looks like it's a flannel to me. Well, we're going to, say no plaids. No plaids and stripes, distinctive stripes, in your first time sewing, because it takes an exerted amount of effort in the layout to make sure that they match. And that's all done in the layout. And they've done an excellent job here. Look how exquisitely everything matches. It's really, really a beautiful job. And so if it didn't on these larger plaids, it's very disjointed looking. And so in Sewing Fundamentals 2, you get to start to learn the plaid layout or the special pattern layout. So you will have that opportunity, but not in the first one that you sew. I'm also going to say no flannel, because flannel sticks to itself when you sew it. Even the lightweight flannel that doesn't have much of a fuzz on it. But that fuzz acts like an attraction, so it doesn't slide very nicely through your machine, and a lot of students will get very frustrated with it. So we say no flannel. We also say no knits for this. When it says a stable knit right here, they're talking about a special kind of a knit that doesn't really stretch. Some of you may know it as double knit, or some Pontes, scuba, depending on how the structure is, are stable. And why they have that here is this pant, the D, a lot of people might want to make that into a more athletic wear pant or a jogger feel. So you could use a stable knit. However, we're not learning knits first. When we get to the knits with the hoodies, then you'll learn what is a stable knit exactly, and you can then come back and actually make this pant out of a knit then. So that leaves surely one thing right there, lightweight broadcloth. Well, no, I'm going to give you a bunch of other things that you can make it with. If you choose a broadcloth, please make sure it's lightweight, because a lot of the broadcloths are very stiff. It's the hand of the fabric, and they're kind of crunchy and they don't drape very nicely. So a lightweight one probably will be okay. And those are usually tend to be 100% poly or a poly cotton blend. And probably the more poly that you get in it, the stiffer or the heavier the fabric becomes. But you can use the plain weave cotton prints, which are called, quilting fabrics. They're called craft novelty prints, juvenile cotton prints, seasonal cotton prints, all of those words you might see, but they're really a plain weave, and we'll learn more about what that means. You can also use a lightweight linen or a linen blend, like cotton and linen, or sometimes there's even poly and linen. Another word that you might see for linen is called rainy. And that would be okay as long as it's lightweight. And yes, it would be a wrinkly pant. Washed linen is beautiful. If you've never really done that before, it's gorgeous. And you don't have to worry about pressing it or anything. It's a beautiful, natural feel to it. You may use chambray. Chambray is like the work shirts. It's not denim. It's a plain weave that makes it chambray. A denim is actually a twill weave, and it's very heavy and would not be suitable for a drawstring, baggy, lots of volume pant unless you had a very, very special lightweight denim. But almost all of the chambrays work beautifully in this. You could also use a rayon, and sometimes a lot of the chambray is rayon. If it's your first time sewing, don't get rayon, because it's still quite slippery. It does move and it's relaxed. It's not as stable structure as the cottons or the linens are, or the polycottons. Okay, so that's a wide range to get. The one thing, though, that you do want to make sure of, it we didn't go on here, it talks about layouts for pile, shaded, or one-way design fabrics. So the nap, which we will learn about, has to do with the direction or the color that it looks, such as velvets. Well, you can't sew this in a velvet, but that would be something that has a nap to it or a pile to it. But what you do need to watch is the one-way design fabrics, because the one-way design is in the print. So meaning if you have a printed dinosaur on your fabric that you're using, if they are all standing one direction, then that's one way. But if you look at it and there's some dinosaurs that are going uphill, some that are standing on their heads or walking different directions, where they're not all in one direction, then that's a multi-directional print, and that's okay. They're saying that the one-way design is taken care of. It says with nap or without nap. So that means if you go down here, those little stars, it's there. And so it means that they're accounting for something of a one-way design already in the layout. But that's only if the pattern is your normal size. Let's say you get something that is this huge floral or a huge dinosaur, right? Like a big 10-inch dinosaur or something in the pattern. Well, that repeat, and it's a one-way, that repeat isn't the same as little ones where you can kind of move it around to make sure that it's all going the right direction. And so you may need to get extra yardage for whatever it is, like if it's the repeat, let's say it's a 12-inch repeat or a 2-foot repeat, when it repeats itself again, you might need to get at least that much extra so that you can move it about and make sure that it can fit all going one direction. If you don't, what will end up is you'll have one leg with them upright and the other leg with them upside down. So you want to watch that in the print that you choose. Okay, so how much yardage do I need now? You've told me what kinds to get, but let's talk about the yardage that you need. So we're going to use Princess Leia's measurements, and she was a medium. So here's my medium. And then we're going to go down to the view that I chose. Can't see, I found him right there. And now, so we know that this column is what we're going to deal with. And we're going to deal with this box right now, like that. So now it's these yardages right here that I'm concerned about. So at 45-inch width, this number over here is the width of the fabric. And we're going to start to learn all of those details, but I did want to tell you this so that you understand buying the fabric at least. So at 45 inches wide, you need 2 7/8 of a yard. At 60 inches wide, you need 2 1/4. So fabrics come in pretty general widths, and the cottons are usually 45 and up to like 48 or 52. Anything between 45 and 59, you should use the 45. Once it approaches 60 and above in the width, then you could use the 60. Where you'll find that located in the store is on the end of the bolt of the fabric. It will tell you the inches, the width that it is. If you're going to get a rayon or a chambray or a linen, you might have some 60-inch goods, but the cotton usually is in the smaller widths. If it is less than 45 inches wide, at the moment, since we haven't learned conversion charts for yardage needed, I want you to think about choosing something different. If it's something that you already had at home and it's narrow like that, we're just going to have to play with it in your layout. It may be too narrow to fit the pattern across it. So you'll know a little bit more about that within the next week or so here about choosing and what the width means. Okay, so we know now that we need, if I'm going to go over here, if I am doing 45-inch fabric, at 45-inch wide, I needed 2 7/8. And at 60-inch wide, I would need 2 1/4. Now, I said about the self drawstring. So if you were planning on doing that, I would up this by the 1/8 of a yard and I would just get 3 yards. Sometimes I would up that anyway, just to allow for an easier layout. If it's the 60-inch wide and you wanted to do the fabric self drawstring, if adding just 1/8 of a yard and you're getting 2 3/8 seems complicated, I probably would just take it to 2.5 yards. Add another 1/4 of a yard on there. Okay. The only thing then that's left on here that we haven't talked about is the interfacing, but you were told to get interfacing in your general supplies, and this did not talk to you about any interfacing because there isn't a buttonhole in this pattern yet. So we're going to make that, and you will have your interfacing. And the one that you need in case you're trying to do your budgeting is you need the one that is the shape flex woven, not the sheer knit or easy knit one. You need the shape flex one. All right. Okay. Perfect. I will see you next time. Bye-bye.